when I'm kind and generous and open and create happiness and opportunity and I show up for people, I know that the universe pours that same goodness back into me.
Hey there, Youest, you Soul fam. I'm so excited to be with you here today. As always, I'm so grateful. You have so many places you can hang. Thanks for coming back and hanging with us this week. And I'm really excited because today I have a very dear friend, Selena Soo. Selena, you've been on here before, but you have not been on here before to talk about your book and to share about your life's work. And I am really excited, my friends. You're going to want to hang for this whole conversation because we're going to go deep, really deep into relationships, meaning rich relationships, and how that applies to ourselves as well. All right, Selena, so I am so happy to have you back. Thank you for coming.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be here. It's just so fun to talk to one of my dearest friends on the topic of rich relationships and friendship. We both know how transformative that can be, and I'm just excited to share these ideas with your beautiful community.
Something that I think is one of your gifts, you have a lot of them, is you have a way of connecting at a very authentic, real level. And you've created, for those who don't know Selena, you've created such a heart-centered, beautiful, powerful, successful business. Maybe you can just share for a minute a little bit about your journey, just a quick, like who you are, your business, and what led you to write this book.
Absolutely. So, when I was in my mid 20s, I had a quarter life crisis. I was working at a nonprofit at the time, and while I was doing meaningful work, I was at a place where I was clinically depressed, had crippling low self-esteem, and things got so bad that my mom flew all the way from Vancouver, Canada to New York to be by my side, to make sure I was getting out of bed, putting food in my body, going to work. She would like accompany me on the subway all the way up to, the nonprofit building. And I remember saying to a friend one day, I can't keep living my life this way. I need to find a way to feel better. And that's when she introduced me to this life coach. Her name is Jen Mack. And that really opened up a whole new world for me. I saw the power in community, women gathering together, the power of also reading these life-changing books, and how, when people are struggling and suffering, they don't just need more information, they need inspiration. And I really felt that, there was nothing like someone who basically is a role model who embodies their message. And so I became passionate about elevating experts and authors and thought leaders and coaches. I am just all about personal development. That is the most important thing. And even as someone that helps people grow their business, I feel that, your business is only going to grow as far as you develop personally. And I would say almost every business problem is a personal problem in disguise. And so, yeah, it's been like this incredible journey of elevating and supporting incredible people, primarily through publicity. That was a type of rich relationship because I really felt that, if there were people I believed in and I could get them connected to media, get them elevated, people would take them, even more seriously and take in their message more deeply. And now my work has expanded more broadly to all the different kinds of rich relationships that are out there because there's so many different types. And I just, this is truly my greatest life's work. So I'm just so thrilled to be here with you all.
I also want to highlight, I think this is really important because it's very easy to see, Selena, gorgeous pictures in your life, like you're in Puerto Rico, and for people to
Yeah.
look and say, like, oh, it's all perfect. And to, talk about you had depression. And the other thing that people may not know, you are an introvert. Your preference
Super
is
introvert. Yeah, super.
super introvert. And I say
Yeah.
that because your ability to shine, to be visible, this is important because for many of us, especially if you're listening, probably
Mhm.
high empath, highly sensitive, might have that feeling of, oh my God, don't look at me, like hiding. And one thing that I've really admired about you is your ability, you honor your energy. And there's a greater purpose. So I've watched you even in times where you're introvert and you still are able to impact others, to step out there, to share, to have these rich relationships, these connected relationships. And I think we could even start with, most importantly, the relationship with yourself, I know has been a focus.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Julie. And I know that that's, your body of work is really helping people embrace their Youest you. And the reality is a lot of us struggle with it at different points in our lives, right? Like maybe we don't feel like we're good enough. We're not worthy. Why would someone want to connect with me? I don't know if I'm that interesting. Or, there have been times where I would beat myself up. Why am I so introverted? Why am I always the quiet one at the big group gatherings? Why do I struggle so much? Why do I burn out so much in terms of when I'm around other people? Why do I get so drained? Why do I need to go into a bathroom and hide and just like try to regain my energy? And something that I learned is that, and I'm sure this is something that you talk about too, is that things that might feel like weaknesses are actually over functioning strengths, right? And we wouldn't have that strength if we didn't have that so-called weakness. So, for example, if you say to yourself, oh, I'm not extroverted or charismatic enough. Well, maybe you're someone that's really great at building deep and intimate relationships and making people feel deeply seen, right? Maybe if you're like, oh, I'm so bad with the details and I'm not good at follow through. Well, maybe you're a visionary who sees the bigger picture. Something that I've beat myself up around is, I feel like I'm so critical sometimes, or why do I overthink things, right? Like I'm a little bit like perfectionistic and neurotic, and it's like, well, with that comes with excellence is my highest value, and I hold people to a higher standard, and I push people and get people to achieve things they never thought they could achieve, right? So with everything that we have, there is also good with that. And so knowing that your so-called weakness is also a strength, how can you dial it back, and how can you lean more into the strength part? And like, I think for all of us, we can adjust things about ourselves, maybe by 30, if we're lucky, as much as 40%. But fundamentally, we can't completely change who we are. And I remember Matthew Hussey once saying, if you don't like something about yourself, you either accept it or you change it. Like when you really break it down, there's two options, right? And so some things you can work on and change to a point where like, okay, I feel good about it now, or it's just accept it. This is who I am. And not from a like, oh, I'm a rude person and this is just who I am, or, that kind of thing, but just kind of being honest with yourself. Okay, there's certain things where I'm really wired this way and maybe I can change it a little bit, but at the end of the day, like this is who I am. And I'm embracing who I am. And I'm grateful to be like this unique, one in 8 billion, right? People with my unique gifts.
I love this focus. And actually, when you and I first connected, I'll just share this is so funny because I remember I have a history. I used to do Myers-Briggs of
Oh,
certified.
yes.
And we had like I remember this because I'm like, oh my gosh, I found someone who like, I always think of myself as like, I have this inner nerd that just like
Yeah.
loves to learn and grow and do assessments and talk it out. And we connected. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are on the same page. We love this stuff. And we talked about that we
Mhm.
all have strengths. We all have a space that we have preferences like introversion, like thinking versus feeling. Anyhow, what I love that you're saying is number one, to have compassion for wherever you are. And also, it's looking at both sides of it. There is always a plus side, there's always a benefit, there's always something about perhaps being like, I can be stubborn, but being stubborn means consistent and like I'm not backing down. Like I
Reliable. Yeah.
reliable. Like I'm not, we're doing
Determined.
this. My husband's like, this is a good thing. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I also love for, your book and your experience. You've worked with so many different heart-centered entrepreneurs, soulful individuals, amazing human beings all over the world, helping them to elevate their message, their who they are. And obviously in this book, talking about different kinds of rich relationships and really a way to look at, I mean, we started it off with connectivity and community and really getting that is like the core of it. And
Yeah.
would love to hear a little bit more about the different types of relationships. And going back to let's start with yourself, maybe one or two takeaways from your book people can take away, because we
Yes.
do a lot here on, all the different ways, especially how do you connect to your higher self, your higher purpose, your authenticity. And I know that's something you are really connected to. So sharing your experience doing that and what are maybe one or two takeaways, like what can we
Oh,
take away?
absolutely. Yes. So one is, to build your rich relationships, you have to intimately know yourself, right? So really being aware of what are my strengths, right? Also, what are my so-called weaknesses? How can I embrace them or in some cases change them? Now, I think that for all of us, we do have blind spots and we have rich relationship strengths and we also have rich relationship weaknesses, myself included, right? And we just have to have that self honesty to be our best self and to really show up in relationships. So everyone has their weaknesses. And in the book, I have like a chart with some ideas. And I think it's really good to know what those weaknesses are because the thing is, a lot of times people will never tell you. And so I have been grateful when I've had friends who have had the courage or took a risk and said something for me to me, or somehow I gained that insight on my own. Something that I'll share about myself. I'm half Asian. I grew up in Hong Kong. And so there's many things about me that are very culturally Asian. And this was before we were on video all the time, right? But I didn't realize I wasn't smiling very much. So I was smiling on the inside, but not on the outside. And now I have like this international team, including a team of incredible Filipino, professionals, and some of them, they don't smile at all, but then when I hear their words, it's like, I hear words like grateful and excited, but it doesn't match their expression, right? So I was actually doing that too. And I remember having an interview with my dear friend Bushra, and she's someone that is like very animated and has this like excited energy. And I was answering her questions, and she posted that interview later. We had done like a Zoom video, Skype video. It was like many years ago. This was like maybe like 7 years ago. And it was comical to watch. And people in the comments were also like, wow, like, talk about like extremes. And I just seemed like so stoic. And it made me realize, like, oh, wow, I didn't realize like I am coming across that way. And so I've actually made a really intentional effort. And now that we're on video all the time, I do notice myself more to really make sure that how I'm feeling on the inside is being expressed on the outside. Another thing with me is because I'm a massive introvert, I am very much about like managing my energy. I'm really passionate about efficiency. And I am that person that can really connect the dots very quickly between people, ideas, and opportunities. It's just obvious. It's like instant for me. And I did, so I was actually going to this workshop and a bunch of friends were, I had to provide a list of people, friends and colleagues, and they, shared all these kind things like what are Selena's strengths and what are her this and what are her that. And then there was a question about what's something that you feel like Selena doesn't know about herself that would be beneficial for her to know. And one thing that someone wrote is that, some people feel that Selena comes across as transactional. And I remember reading that and being stunned, and I didn't understand it. And it actually kind of took me it took me a year, I think, to really understand it because I was like defensive and I was like, I don't get it. Like, I love to pour into people. I love to give. I am always identifying opportunities and ways to connect. But one thing I realize is that, for me, because I have that value of efficiency. I'm not someone that is maybe, going to the beach and spending like 6 hours hanging out. I'm not the person that's good at small talk. Sometimes it can feel like I'm getting down to business quickly. And so even though I'm coming from a place of kindness and generosity and being honest with myself and showing up when I want and when I don't, but because I wasn't doing that other stuff, people misinterpreted, kind of how I was. And I would say that's not really how I would necessarily define transactional. I have a different definition of that, but I can see how it appeared that way being transactional versus relational. And so I have really taken that to heart. And I am still, someone's like I'm going to show up for the friend who is like, I need you. And we're going to have like that 2 hour conversation on the phone. But I'm just like, to be honest, I'm not the person, I don't watch any reality TV. Like, I just personally don't feel like that's how I want to spend my time. The reason why I also have so many rich relationships is I create a lot of time to show up for people in the ways that matter to me. You know what I mean? But I was grateful to receive that feedback, even though initially I was so defensive. But I think that for all of us, we have something, whether it's, actually, I do this sometimes too because I get excited. Maybe you interrupt people, or maybe for someone else, maybe it's that they don't take personal responsibility. Um, or they're always in victim mode and feeling like the world has wronged them, right? We all have our things, and it is a gift to know what these are. And the reality is, if you don't know, it's like, as you interact with people, everyone's thinking like, oh, this person doesn't come across as warm because she's never smiling. This person feels like and you don't realize that because that's not what you're feeling and thinking, but that's how it's coming across. And so while it's so uncomfortable to get negative feedback about yourself, I do want to say that there is a lot of value, and just having the courage to receive that feedback is worth it. But one thing I will say, Julie, is that people have to be a safe container for feedback. So if someone is like, and I get it, like, I'm a highly sensitive person, but I think if someone is highly sensitive, very defensive, never taking responsibility, constant hot mess, people are going to be afraid to tell you these things. And it really is a gift if they do.
I think that what you just ended with is really important, and understanding there's so many gifts in what we're talking about, right? Gifts. And,
Mhm.
and really, to me, the underlying, the bottom line of all this is awareness. It's
Awareness. Yeah.
having greater awareness of yourself. And I even think about it, Selena, too, like, we're human,
Yeah.
right? We're here on this planet for a very short time, really. And I know this is one of the reasons we connected right away. You know, anyone who's tuning in, we're here to add more light, to add more goodness, to elevate heart energy, consciousness, to bring more joy, more abundance of ourselves. We all have uniqueness that's beautiful. Even though we're all connected, we all have our, individuated expressions. And awareness, it's the first step. It's the first step anywhere. And so I love what you're saying, looking in with curiosity, going in, and I know in your book you have all these great ways to look at yourself and to
Mhm.
look at relationships. I want to also talk about giving and receiving, because I know there's something that we can talk
Yes.
about. I just love that we're very purposely talking about rich relationships first with yourself. My
Yes.
belief is it starts inner, everything is on the outer, is reflecting that. So this is important. And I appreciate your vulnerability, like feeling, defensive at first. It's hard to hear sometimes, like, oh, you're coming across this way, or I was interpreting this, and that's not what you intended. And to be able to graciously receive that and then say, let me learn from that. I mean, if we can all do that with openness, this is going to make a huge difference. And I believe that's one of the many gifts of your book is look into yourself, be kind and loving, and be honest. You said that we need honesty, kindness. It builds awareness. From awareness, we can do everything. So, okay, can you talk a little bit about giving and receiving? Because I got to tell you, we have a lot of folks here, and I know I've been in that camp. Excellent at giving, not always so much at receiving. I know I have worked on this big time, but it can be unbalanced, and we don't want that either.
Absolutely. So, what I'd love to do is talk about the three types of givers, because you can be a giver without burning yourself out. And then I want to share like some ideas and strategies. So, this is really inspired by Adam Grant's book. He wrote about givers, matchers, and takers, and I kind of adapted it to these three types of givers, right? So, there's an indiscriminate giver, and this is the person that gives from a place of, I want you to like me. Sometimes I want to prove myself. I want to show my worthiness. And what can happen sometimes is that they center people so much because they care so much. They have such a big heart, but they can forget about themselves in the process. And sometimes they can get angry and resentful, even when they were the person initiating the giving. And how do I know that? Because I've been that person at times. With these three types, the reality is we have all been all three of these types at different moments in our, life. But there is one type that is going to be better for our well-being. So that's an indiscriminate giver. Then there's a transactional giver. So that is a person that comes from a place of scarcity. And, we all have moments of that, but it's, well, I'll give this to you, but I need to know that I'm going to get this back from you. Right. The other issue with being a transactional giver, I mean, there's many. One is that a lot of people don't want to be in transactional relationships. It's also a very short-term focus, but it can also really block the receiving, because what can happen is if someone wants to give something to you, you might be afraid. And that might be because of your upbringing. Ooh, I know that when I gave or when I received, it always came with strings attached. It wasn't safe to receive, and everything is a transaction, right? So that can really block the flow of abundance into your life. Now, then there's rich giving. And I'm actually have my cup here, rich giver. I'm going to send one to you, Julie, because I love looking at every day. And this is really, if I had to summarize my book in one sentence, the book Rich Relationships teaches you how to be a rich giver. Done. And that is how you create your $1 million network and have like the most amazing life. But a rich giver is someone who is intentional and purposeful, right? They pour generously into other people from a place of abundance, from a place of what I call relaxed abundance. And when they think about pouring into their network, it's not like this rigid short-term thing. Like, I'm going to invest in this person, but I need to see this return. It's more that I'm a generous person. When I invest into my network and create abundance and, for all, the abundance flows back to me, one way or another. Right. And so, and it is giving. It's giving without attachment. It's giving without expectation to a particular person, but there actually is an overall expectation. It's a trusting when I'm kind and generous and open and create happiness and opportunity and I show up for people, I know that the universe pours that same goodness back into me. So we want to encourage people to be rich givers. And that's the rich giver. They think about other people, but they also consider themselves. They manage their energy and they're intentional, because we're all equal as human beings. But the reality is not all relationships are equal. That's just the truth. There are going to be certain people when you're around them, you feel energized, you feel excited. There's an abundant energy, there's a synergy. These are the people that show up for you, that truly care about you, and you feel the same way. Those are the relationships to prioritize. And then there's other relationships that drain you, they create drama for you, you don't feel safe. You can't get on the same page. We have to prioritize things and really focus on the relationships where there is that abundant win-win energy.
Gorgeous. I was just literally going to ask if you could sum up your book in one sentence. You did that. We're in the same wavelength. I love this definition. And, of course, we're going to have to take the spiritual and to the woo side, wisdom of oneness. That's just what we do here.
Yes, please.
What
Yeah.
I love underneath it, I'm really hearing is in the being a rich giver, there is a deep trust. There is a connection, a knowing, a trusting of something greater, your higher self, the divine. There's in a way, what's missing in a great way is fear, and what's there is love, is trusting, is connection, all those attributes, which to me, when we're tapped into that, and I think of our infinite source, think about the ultimate rich giver, the divine, our creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, hold
That's
on.
cool.
Hold on, that just gave, I'm like all blush because I'm like, oh my gosh, the ultimate rich giver is our infinite, creator that we are emanations of. So
Mhm.
we just had to take it spiritually. It's the way we roll here. And I am
Yes.
hearing, you want an example of that. Look at the total, the your creator, of the beloved creator, who is, whatever you call it, infinitely good, constantly giving, loving, you know, um, coming from abundance, trust, all of those qualities start from there. And so they have to be in us. They're in each of us. So I really feel like it's a natural. We all have it. Maybe it's been covered over by fear or stories or, like situations. And so that just popped out to me as what a beautiful way to really look at it, that you were saying is this rich giver, which I believe all of us here, anyone tuning
Yeah,
in,
yeah, everyone
that's,
is.
that's
But
what you
we
want to be.
need to step into it more. There might be areas
Yes.
where, we've fallen into that indiscriminate category, or even like sometimes in life, we have
Yep.
situations where it's like, we're running out of cash or things are difficult. And, there's something that's, we start to be transactional, even though that's not who we really are. So I think it is a really good reminder that we want to come from this place of relaxed abundance.
I love the relaxed piece, which makes me think of ease and calm and not pushing or striving. Let's talk about this for a moment. So there's what you just talked about. So let's say someone's listening and they identify, I really want to be a rich giver right now, lost their job, don't have the contracts they usually have, ending a relationship, like things are feeling tight or stuck. Or let's talk about, how do you move into rich giver if you're like, yeah, I think I'm in transactional. Yeah, I think I'm. To me, when you talked about the first one, the indiscriminate,
Mm-hmm.
it made me think a little bit of our celebrity culture and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of the, like, putting people on pedestals and forgetting, like you said, we're all worthy and equal, yet the relationships are not all the same. But really, that aspect of I thought of people pleasing a little
Yeah.
bit with that. Can we talk about, I want to go into also how to manage your energy, but for
Mhm.
someone who's struggling, they might identify, okay, I'm in the first two that I would prefer to be in as a rich giver. What can you share from your experience
Wow.
helps to change that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, when you mentioned the putting people on a pedestal, because we've all done that,
Yeah.
I would say my goal is that you reach a place where you put yourself on the pedestal, right? Like put yourself on the,
Brilliant.
you love that, right, Julie?
I love that. Like, and everyone's with you, but like to honor and love you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Never heard
Right.
that.
And
Yeah.
so I think that that's why, like, we started this conversation by talking about your relationship with yourself. And when you put yourself in a pedestal and you love yourself so much, um, but not from like an arrogant place, but rather, you feel worthy, it attracts those rich relationships. But also, it kind of stops the indiscriminate giving in that, yes, you're still going to give, but you consider yourself because you value yourself, right? And yeah, so I think just so much stems from actually like not loving ourselves and valuing ourselves. But okay, get me back to the question. So it's like when people put others on a pedestal, you were saying, um,
Yeah, if they're finding either that or maybe feeling, in that transactional state
oh yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
money is tight, the contract didn't come through, a relationship ended, and I think you kind of just answered it, which was really powerful, about go back to being in that rich relationship with yourself. Just curious if anything
Yeah.
else.
I think that, yeah, I think we really want to be in a place where, we put ourselves on that pedestal in a humble way, but recognizing, who we are. And really like, okay, let's try. I don't know why I keep on getting tripped up because like you're saying such a good, but I feel like when you say the question, I'm thinking of like two different things. I don't know why. Uh,
Yeah, choose one. Well, let me ask you this actually. Something else that I think is really connected is
yeah.
when let's say there's a relationship that's sucking energy that does not feel like a rich relationship, right? So, how to deal with when somebody is not respecting your boundaries, your time, and I know you've dealt with
Oh
this,
yeah,
right?
so let's do that. Let's talk about the six circles of connection and then I can talk
Yeah,
then how to
do it.
move into the different circles. Okay.
Yeah, can you explain the six circles of connection and also, yeah, how you move around? That's fantastic.
Do you want to say that again or no? Or that's fine.
Yeah, no, just to share the six circles and what to do if you have a relationship, you're shifting your energy and you're starting to notice the way that person's treating me, the partner I thought was the right person, I'm not okay with that interaction, or that's not matching, or that doesn't feel like a rich relationship for me anymore. How do we deal with that? What do we do?
100%. So I'm so excited to share with you my favorite framework in the entire book, and it is the six circles of connection. And so, as I was saying earlier, with relationships, they are not all created equal. And it's important to know where you stand with a relationship in order to manage your energy. So I want you to imagine six circles, right? Six concentric circles. And the first circle is the innermost circle. So the innermost circle, that's typically 1 to 3, small handful of people. It could, in some cases, be zero for someone, but this is basically who you're doing life with. These are people who are on the pulse of what is happening day by day or week by week. And these also have to be people that you trust, that you feel safe with, that people that have, that proximity to you, right? And trust. So those are your circle ones. So for many of us, that might be our life partner. It might be a particular family member. It could be our number one very best friend. If we've had a long time therapist or life coach who speaks with us on the weekly and always knows what's going on, that's circle one. But basically, if you reach out to someone circle one and said like, hey, what's going on in Julie's life? They would be able to tell you, oh, this is what's going on with her. Like they know. The next circle is circle two. So these are your treasured connections. So these are people that feel like soul family. They may not know what's happening day by day or week by week, but if you ever needed help, you know that you could 1,000% count on them. If you texted them and said, hey, can you get on the phone in 3 hours? I really need you. Even if they had something going on, they would try to rearrange things and find a way to show up and be available for you. While I do talk about, giving without attachment, I do feel that if someone is in circle one or circle two, it is healthy to expect them to show up for you. It should be a pleasure and priority to show up around their biggest goals and dreams and their biggest needs and pains. So that's, how someone is in circle one or two. And so circle two, it's usually about half a dozen or maybe a dozen, but it's a smaller number of those like soulful treasured connections. So Julie, I feel like we're circle two. That's how I always think of
I'm
you.
like, two. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if we were to move and we were like next door neighbors, then we would be circle one.
With tea and sharing meals. Yeah.
Exactly. And
And
petting
clothes.
pets and all of that.
Yes.
So then there's circle three. So this is where a lot of your rich relationships fall. So this is your active network. So these are people where you mutually care about each other and there is that trust. You are comfortable recommending them to other people, making introductions. They're the people that you invite to a party. If they were in your city and something happened and they needed to stay a night, you would feel comfortable welcoming them into your home and also sharing, even confidential information with them. There is that trust and there is that level of proximity that they get to you. So that's circle three, the active network. And so that is multiple dozens. That could be, over 100 people, right? It just depends on, the relationships that you have. That's a larger group, your active network. Now, circle four, these are your distant connections. So these are people that are a little bit at an arm's length. And there could be a couple of reasons. One might be you literally just met them. You've only had 1 or 2 conversations. And so even though you're so excited, like, oh my goodness, this is my new business bestie. I love her. The reality is they're still a stranger and there is so much to be revealed about them. And so they're not going to have the same level of proximity and trust as a circle 1, 2, and 3 because they just haven't earned it, right? There's just not enough like knowledge and foundation there. Another reason why someone might be circle 4 is you could have known them for years and years, but there is something that is out of alignment and you can feel it. Whether it is they're always down in the dumps and every time you talk to them, they're always criticizing and speaking badly of other people. They're always the victim. Or maybe there's someone that doesn't follow through on their word. You feel like you can't really count on them, right? So you don't rely on them. Maybe you're not so comfortable like recommending them necessarily when there are like these question marks about, how they show up and their character. And another reason why someone might be at circle 4, some distance might be you're in a place where your circle 1, 2, and 3 are filled to the brim and between, family responsibilities, whether it's elderly parents, young children, big life transitions. It's like, I honestly maybe don't have the room to be able to prioritize this person and show up and take in information and be that like true friend and supporter. So I care about them. They're a part of my network, friendly, cordial, but they're in circle 4. There is that distance. Now, then there's circle 5. So this is your disconnected connections. So people might be in circle 5 because maybe they betrayed you. A line was crossed and there's just no going back. You just can't forget. Maybe when you're with them, you don't feel safe in your body. You feel like you have to leave the room. It's not for you. So that would be a circle 5 relationship. Or maybe something has happened where you don't know them personally, but other people have said this is a dangerous person and you believe them. Maybe they're litigious, maybe they create all kinds of drama and you're just like, I can't let them in. I don't feel good about this. So that's why they're in circle 5. And then circle 6 are your unknown connections. So that is the greater world of people that you have not connected with yet. And so I came up with this because I remember one day a woman named Sherry Salata, who was actually at one point Oprah's executive producer, said something. She was on video and she said, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. And when I heard that, I just had shivers up and down my arms because I was out of integrity. I had multiple relationships that were not rooted in my truth because I wasn't being treated well. I didn't feel safe. And it's not that it started out that way, right? So usually when you're in a relationship with someone, it's because they have incredible good qualities and maybe they have done kind things to you. They have shown up. They have been a rich relationship. But just because something started off as a rich relationship doesn't mean it's going to be a rich relationship forever. And, things have changed. So I've had situations where I had a team member that brought in a ton of money into my business. She had a very significant role involved in sales and marketing. And while she was amazing, my biggest supporter, and so valued, but there were times where under high stress, she would get emotionally volatile and she would lash out at people and she would be condescending. And she wouldn't take ownership for it. And when I tried to address it, she would attack me. And so I was in a place where I didn't feel safe inside my own company with people that I was paying money to. So that's like one example. Or let's say if you have a friend and they're a relationship coach and you want to be that true blue friend and support them and brainstorm with them and do all the things, but then you notice like it seems like they have nonstop drama in their personal relationships with their husband and they're also creating drama with you. And so how can you really be that person when they're out of integrity? You know what I mean? And so I just I think everyone listening is someone that wants to live a life of alignment. And when we're not in alignment, it doesn't feel good. We feel disturbed. We're not at ease. And so these circles are not for other people to tell them, I've moved you from circle 2 to circle 4. It's for you to know. It's your personal mental framework knowing, okay, this person was a circle 2. I thought they were soul fam. But now I don't feel safe. It's too complicated, too much drama. And so there's different things that you can do. You can just tell yourself, you know what? I love them. I care about them. I want the best. And I'm moving them to circle 4. And so when they text you, maybe you don't text them back instantly. Maybe it's the next day or it's 2 days later. Maybe if they ask you to help them, maybe it's you'll do this, but not all the things they asked you to. Or maybe you just say, I would really love to show up for you, but I'm at capacity right now. But you just put the appropriate boundaries in place. But knowing what circles people are in helps you manage your energy and feel in personal integrity.
Mm. That's the key right there, I think, is integrity, workability, alignment, authenticity. I love what you're saying. You said something that I want to just highlight, which is, first of all, explaining the different circles and really managing our energy, and the underlying piece being loving. There can be forgiveness and love and the choice. This is not the right, this is not someone I want to pour into. And there can still be love and respect. I mean, I have a practice what I do when this has happened, going through divorce, through there, these are some big things many of us have gone through that can really change the circle pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or a relationship or whatever it might be. And I love this focus on, what I'll say is like, I'm going to bless and release them. I'm going to bless you. You're blessed and released, like only good, and continue. May you have a beautiful whatever's going on with you. And for my energy, I love what you're saying because to me, Selena, it's owning our sovereignty, our agency. This builds trust, this builds efficacy, this builds connection. This goes back to the rich relationship with yourself. And I've certainly learned this myself that was a really hard decision, really hard, really one of the most painful things I've ever gone through, right? Is ending a relationship for different reasons, good person. And it just, everyone listening, yourself, your intuition
Yeah.
guides you, your heart guides you, your inner wisdom. Like, I know
Yeah.
you had a relationship that needed to end, and
Many.
Yeah. And it's, I do think the piece of like knowing for ourselves, okay, that person, like bless them. And they're gonna be in circle five right now because that's what feels safe and comfortable for me. I don't have to hold the resentment. I don't have to hold the thing I think we talk a lot about here is forgiveness. And we don't want to hold on to anger and resentment. Obviously, moving through those feelings, not bypassing them. We've talked a lot about that. And it's if it doesn't feel safe or aligned, that's okay. Not everyone, this has taken me years to learn. I'm curious your thoughts. Not everyone, first of all, not everyone's going to align with
Yes.
us, with me, with you, with anybody that's listening. That's okay. There's 8 billion
Mhm.
people. And had to learn that. I've had to learn that that's okay. Not everyone's gonna, sometimes I'll get comments here. Most are really loving and kind and engaging. Every now and then I get a comment like it's every now and then, not often. And it's like, okay, thank you for sharing. Maybe there's some really good wisdom. So let me read it and take it. And or maybe I'm not for you. And that's okay too. That's
Right.
cool. We don't have to be for everyone. Yeah, I know you've moved through relationships also, and
Yes.
that can be really powerful to say, I deserve rich relationships with myself
Mhm.
and people who's a 2 or 3 needs to be a 2 or 3.
But Julie, something I want to talk about because we kind of touched on it earlier when people feel like they're that indiscriminate giver and they're not receiving. I do think
Yes.
it's important that we dive into that because I think that there's a couple things at play. Um, so sometimes we have chosen to invest in the wrong kinds of people because I will say that, for people that really care about you and people that are at a certain level of personal development, they will initiate. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I see that you're going through this. How can I support you? That they will volunteer to show up for you, right? They will initiate, right? So maybe it's we haven't made the right decisions about who to pour into. Maybe we've poured into people because we have history or because they have some charming aspects to their personality, but we haven't been really seeing with eyes wide open. This is where they're at. This is who they are. They might not have the capacity to give. Maybe their life is in a constant state of crisis that they just have to really like stop themselves from drowning, and any relationship that they're in is 100% centered on them, right? So there is a little bit of personal responsibility that we have to take when we choose to stay in consistent connection with those people. So that's one thing, but the good news is that you have the power to recognize that and make the appropriate move. The other thing is if you don't feel okay, so there's a couple of things. So one is there's 3 parts to like receiving, okay? So the first is you need to have a vision, right? A vision of like, this is what we could do together. Whether it's like, Julie's coming to me like, Selena, I know you have your book launch and I have this idea, let's have you on the podcast. And then I'm like, I love that, Julie. Oh, and by the way, I have this idea. I know that you're giving books to your clients. I actually have extra inventory. And what if we did this even bigger thing together where you reached out to, this larger group and we did X, Y. So you have to have like a vision. You have to be someone that proposes ideas and collaborations and win-wins and things that feel abundant and are easy yeses on both sides, right? So when you're not receiving, do you have a vision of what you want to receive and how you can play bigger together? So that's one. Second is, do you feel worthy? Because if you have the vision but you don't feel worthy, then you're never going to make the ask, and you're not going to be in energetic alignment. And even if you do make the ask, you're not going to be in energetic alignment with the ask, right? And then the third is like the skill of knowing how to ask people. And there's many things involved. There is a timing thing. If someone is in crisis, that's not the time to make a big ask. If you have just met someone and you haven't nurtured the relationship and they don't know you, that's also not the time to make an ask. If you haven't proven yourself to be a giver and someone that's interested in what's going on in their world, that's also not the right time to make an ask. But the other thing is that people do like to be asked. So I think that there is this misconception that when we have a relationship with someone, we have to wait and wait and we have to save up until it's the right moment to be able to receive, because we think that when we make an ask, we're taking something away from them. And so we got to save it up for the right moment. But there's this thing called the helper's high. There's a lot of people that enjoy helping. When you help someone, you feel like I'm contributing to your vision. I'm a part of your journey. It actually strengthens the relationship. We're doing this together, right? Like, I feel like many of my deepest friendships, it's been so rewarding. And what a gift that my friend has allowed me to be there for them. And what a gift that they were willing to be vulnerable and create that, opening for me to show up. And so if you are someone that feels like I don't receive from my rich relationships, I want to ask you, are you investing in the right people? Are your eyes wide open, or are you trying to make something work with someone that never has the capacity to give and create an energetically abundant relationship? And then the other question I would ask you is there something that you're doing that's blocking the giving? Whether, you're not coming with a vision and creativity. You don't feel that internal worthiness, or maybe you haven't developed the skill of knowing how to ask in a way that inspires people to say yes.
Oh, those are really powerful questions. We love powerful questions here because they open up everything. And
Mhm.
my sense, just tuning in, I have a feeling that many of us, many listening, it's the worthiness piece that is, and all of them we need to look at. I have a
Yeah.
sense that that is at the root for many. Um,
Mhm.
Before we wrap, I do, first of all, there's so much more here, and I
So
love
much.
this book is, and I want to say, honestly, there's a lot of, you have a lot of genius in you, like just in what you've created, visionary relationships, connections, heart-centered business that is, you had your program impacting millions, and I'm like, it really has impacted millions. And I know, you
Mm.
know, someone you struggled with depression, introversion, like you are shining your light. I think that's extremely inspiring. And this book is really, really, really like the roadmap in a wonderful way to connect deeper to yourself and learn how to be a rich giver, rich receiver,
Mm.
all of it, all
Yes.
of it. Anything, Selena, we call them heart flares here, like your heart.
Mhm.
I didn't ask you, or just that's on your heart that you feel like you want to share with our community.
Absolutely. So, my favorite saying is the mind, once stretched by a new idea, never returns to its original dimensions. And so, yes, right. So that's why I'm just so passionate about this work. I feel like we're having a full circle moment. I was that person that was lost and confused and just at such a breaking point. And that was when I got introduced to these life-changing messages, books, ideas that helped me love myself, value myself, and get myself out of that dark place. And I feel so humbled that, today I have an opportunity to share this work, right, with more people. Thank you, Julie, for giving me this chance to speak to your community. And I really, as people start reading the book and they, tell me, how they're taking it in. I mean, there are people that are crying when they're reading the book. There are people that are feeling transformed, people that are having aha moments. It is truly rewiring people's brains. And it's so exciting to put work out there where once someone reads this book and they really take it in, they're actually not going to be the same person. They're going to be a different person. They're going to love themselves more. They're going to play bigger in the world. They're going to be a bigger giver. They're going to be a bigger receiver. And all of their goals and dreams are going to come so much more easily to them. So I'm just so grateful that everyone, is part of this incredible conversation today. And so I do want to share that I have some special gifts for this audience because we're going to be releasing this interview before the book comes out. And so if you're like, I want to dive into the book right away, I'm giving away the first 4 chapters for free. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm giving away my rich relationship scripts because as people go through the book, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many great scripts, but I want them all in one place. Because to build rich relationships, we need to communicate and we communicate through words. So if you're like, I don't know how to initiate a relationship with someone I admire, I don't know how to nurture the relationship, I don't know how to make an ask without offending them or damaging the relationship, or I don't know how to say no while honoring myself, but keeping the relationship in track, like all those scenarios, I have rich relationship scripts for you. So you can go to richrelationshipsbook.com/you YOU, Rich Relationships Plural, book.com/you. And you'll get the first four chapters for free. You get the Rich Relationships for free. And then also on May 31st, I'm going to be announcing a winner for $1,000 cash prize just for fun. So every reason to go ahead and get your Rich Relationship scripts in the first four chapters. And if you enjoyed this interview, encourage other people to tune in, share the book with other people. But thank you for being a part of just, yeah, all of you. I feel like everyone listening is really a part of this, rich relationship and rich giver movement that I'm creating.
Awesome. And I'll just reiterate all those links that's special for USU community. That will be everyone who checks us out on YouTube, in the show notes. It's going to be everywhere. I'll make sure that link is there. So in case you are driving and you're like, oops, I forgot it, you can find it. We'll have it for you. And I just want to thank you, Selena, for really the courage to step out of your comfort zone all the time. I see this all the time with you, and getting to really know and adore you, you do that, and for the greater good, and writing something that's uplifting humanity. So important. We need that right now. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. And I just want to say to you, my beloved listener, please remember your worthiness is non-negotiable. You are worthy because you are here. That is it, period. Your Youest you, your higher self, your authenticity, your true self, that is you. And that's what we're talking about here. And this book absolutely will help and really give you the tools, even more tools, to connect deeper. Thank you. Thank you to our soul family. Thank you to you, Selena, for sharing. It's always a gift and honor. I love sharing what you're up to, and so much love to you. And to each one of you listening, we love you. Mwah. Hey, Youest you soul family. I am here with Angie Hipple, who, oh my gosh, she is the channel of the Judah channel. She and I are going to be hosting an amazing retreat this summer, June 13th to 15th, in the beautiful mountains of North Carolina at the Art and Living Center Retreat. And I just want you to know you are going to experience connecting to your higher self, channeling, heart-opening experiences. Angie, share a little bit. We'll share the link as well, but this is going to be, dare I say, magical.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So this is going to be a time that we activate you to really understand and identify your higher self, what your higher self sounds like, how you receive messages from your higher self, and develop this relationship so that it's consistent, it's powerful, it's sustainable, it's something you can do when you go home, and also help you to make an initial contact, if you haven't already done it, with your oversoul family, your angels and guides, any archangels or ascended masters that you want to talk to, and then take that home as a skill set where you can sit with yourself in a meditative state and have these really profound interactions with these beautiful sources of help in the unseen realm. And there's going to be a lot of activation there, a lot of clearing, getting rid of belief systems and ideas and perspectives that are hanging you up, and just removing those blocks in a permanent fashion so that you can really operate in your day-to-day life as your higher self. And we're going to have great food, singing, dancing, just some all-around good old-fashioned fun.
And hugs, real life hugs.
Real
Yay.
hugs with real skin.
Hugs. Yay.
Real
We've
people.
made it. Yes, it'd be so fun. And we've made it really affordable. Go to juliereisler.com/retreat 2025 so that you can check it out, sign up. We have a limited space. We would love to see you and play with you and elevate all of our hearts and consciousness together. Angie, I'm so excited. It's going to be so fun.
Me too. I can't wait.
Yay.
See you all there.